Okay, so student loans really tried to get the best of me when it came to my home buying journey the first time around. But thankfully I persevered, but I realized that I've yet to have a video that talked about how I got out of that debt, how I got rid of $70,000 worth of student loans, and I went to HBCU. So if you are an HBCU grad, you already know what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk about my journey from being denied from home after home due to my debt to income ratio to getting like one of the best deals that you can get as a homeowner, you know, in these current times. So if you are new here, hi, my name is Jocelyn and I'm the founder of Real Estate Prep, which is a community for first-time home buyers that are looking for the tools, tactics, and resources they need to confidently make the biggest purchase of their lives, and that it's usually their first home. So if you're new here, you likely haven't heard this, but I'm gonna tell y'all my story and I'm gonna keep it real, I'm gonna keep it raw. And I have a few tips on how to help you get out of, you know, debt if that's what you desire. I know that it stops a lot of us on this home buying journey, but it doesn't have to. So let's take it back to, you know, square one when I was getting started with my home buying journey. So I met my agent through like a speed networking event, and she was bomb. Like we hit it off as friends, and I was like, okay, I like her energy. She seems to be about her business. Maybe she can help me find my first home. So she helps me with the process. I didn't really know much. She was like, okay, like first step is get you pre-approved. So she helped me get all that stuff together, introduced me to a lender. Great. So I then get all that stuff off, and while I'm going through this process, what she doesn't know is that I was already paying off my student loans. I was paying off my car, and I had been saving, you know? So I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm at a good place in my life. It's time to buy a house, child. Didn't happen. So I got pre-approved, but I got pre-approved for a very low amount for the area that I was living in. So off rip, she was like, okay, this is kind of gonna limit us because a lot of homes aren't available where you wanna be, because I had gave her a list of neighborhoods that I was interested in for that price. But she was like, okay, let's still go look, you know, like, let's still go look and see what we can find. So we found maybe about 3 houses that I like, you know, over the course of maybe 2 months, like 3 houses in 2 months. That's very depressing. Like, she really held me down because I would have been like, girl, no. But we kept looking. We put in offer after offer, nothing. So eventually it's like, okay, what the heck? What is going on? So eventually she, my agent at the time, and my lender both basically were like, you know, Jocelyn, like, this is gonna continue to be hard. And because you only can afford so much, i.e. the amount on my pre-approval, this is gonna continue to limit you until you do something about your finances, namely your debt. It's not the income, you know, it's not, you know, your savings. You have the savings and things, but you have a lot of debt, and it's impacting what I can pre-approve you for, which is the lender. The lender was telling me this, so I'm like, okay, I get it, because I need to have at least $100,000 more on my pre-approval letter to actually be playing in this field right now in this city that I'm living in currently. So I said, okay, thinking about my lifestyle right now, I have my own place, you know, I mean, I had a roommate, but it was basically mine. She was always with her boyfriend. And I was actively paying off things and trying to get myself together. But if I would have continued on that life of living, you know, on my own, I wouldn't be here right now, you know. And what sucked is that I loved where I was living. Like, I loved my apartment, like I loved the city, I loved my lifestyle, but it wasn't gonna get me to where I wanted to be, which was as a homeowner. Like, I had to adjust my lifestyle. So I made a very tough decision to move back home and move in with my family for 2 years. I said, I'm gonna give myself 2 years to pay off this $70,000 price tag, because I don't want to feel the way that I felt looking for these homes, thinking my offer is attractive, wasting my agent's time, knowing that they're getting more competitive offers on these houses that I'm looking for. So I said, you know what? I have to move. I have to downsize, and I have to find a way to attribute more of my income to these student loans so that I can just get rid of them. And that's what I did. I decided to move back home after lots of prayer, journaling, and crying, because I didn't want to give up my life at that moment. But I did it because I knew it was a short-term loss for a longer-term gain. And I would ultimately plan to move back to that city because I really enjoyed it. So I moved back home. Very hard. Very hard because I have been on my own for so long, like years, you know. I go home, you know, and kicking with my family, but for the most part, my life was somewhere else, you know. So that was a big adjustment for us, meaning my family and I. But thankfully, they were patient with me, and eventually I came around and I was like, you know what? I need to enjoy this time that I'm here and get focused on my goals, which is to use that money that I was paying in rent to apply it to my student loans. So that's, you know, step two. Now, step one was I moved back home. Step two was that I decreased my monthly expenses. So I was paying, you know, a lot of money in rent for where I was living because the city was expensive. So then I want to say about 80% of that money then went to my additional payments. So I made multiple payments a month towards my student loans, and I made sure to call in those additional payments because I wanted them to be applied to my principal. So that's a good tip for you guys. Do not just go log into Navient or whatever it's called these days and make your payments online. You can make one payment there, but just know that they're splitting it between the interest and the principal, and sometimes it's never even touching the principal. And so make that payment because you want your interest to go down, but ultimately you want your principal to go down because that's where you're really going to see the numbers decrease, and that's what's going to keep you excited and encouraged to stay on this journey, okay? Because it gets hard. So I would make my one payment online, you know, but then I would call in all the other payments, which was usually maybe 1 or 2 additional payments a month. And I wanted them to apply it specifically to the principal. And when I tried to log in and do that the first couple of rounds, it didn't work. So I just kept calling every month like clockwork and made sure that it went to the principal, because again, that's how the numbers go down. Do not just rely on the online portal because that's not the move. The number 3 thing that I did was I started investing. So I had a little bit more money to play with. So most of it, of course, was going to my student loan amount, but I would start investing, and I started investing in REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, because I was so serious about this whole real estate journey that I was on. So I had a little, you know, stock account and all that kind of stuff. I had already hired a financial planner because I was serious about getting my money right. But I also feel like, I don't know who told me about Fundrise, but I was so thankful for it because I use that thing. I still use it to this day, and it basically works the same as stocks, but those stocks are actual property. So they do have ETF, like REITs that are ETFs, which is exchange traded funds, which is basically a collection of, you know, maybe properties or companies. But what I liked about Fundrise is that I could actually see these properties. These are located in cities. You know, they gave us the names of the properties. It was a combination of commercial and residential. And it allowed me to become a real estate investor without actually owning something outright. Like, it was, again, very much like stock. So it was a low entry barrier, about like, or low barrier to entry. And I started with like 500. I think that's the minimum you can put in. And then I just let that sit for like a year, for real, like, and then we just put a little $25 here and there until I saw that, okay, wow, like I'm getting these dividend checks every quarter. There's something into this. So now I've moved up, you know, the 500. I have much more in there now. I haven't been contributing lately, but I'm going to start doing that again, just continuously putting those $25 in, because I will then take those dividend checks and apply them to either my fund stash, which I'll talk about later, or my principal, you know, for my student loan. So Fundrise was a game changer. And if you're interested, I'll include the link as well as my referral code in the description. Very easy, but if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Number 4 was I opened a high yield savings account. So a high yield savings account is similar to a traditional savings account, except you have a higher APY, which is the annual percentage yield, which is essentially your interest. So your money's making more money for you because the percentage is higher. Usually with traditional savings accounts, you earn maybe 0.00345, whatever, on the amount in your account, but that's pennies, you know, like that's not a lot of money. And I wanted my money to work for me. I was already working a lot, which I'm gonna talk about a little later. But I really liked high yield savings accounts because I saw that my money would accrue interest fairly quickly, and it would do it passively, which means that I didn't have to trade my time for money. That money was making money by allowing it just to sit in this account, and I needed that because after whatever else I paid in bills and, you know, student loans, the rest was going in fund. I had a fund stash account. I'll talk about that next. But the rest of that was going to my high yield because I was building up my house fund. I call it a house fund. Like, it's still still that. It's still that. So that was a game changer. And I'll include, no, I won't. But if you are interested in which one I'm using, just reach out or comment below and I'll let you know. The fifth thing that I did was I got a second job. So by trade, I am a marketing or a marketer, a digital marketer, whatever. And I used to do some consulting on the side, period. And I had some really cool clients. One of them actually took me to Morocco with them. Like, that was wonderful. All expenses paid. I got flued out before flued out was a thing, child. But I was working with them and they needed extra hands. I said, say less. My passport is ready. It's sitting on ready. So I was in Morocco. I had never been to Africa. That was my first time and I enjoyed it. So granted, the work that I was doing was so well that I had a chance to travel as well as get paid, okay? That's the best kind of job to have. But that money that I was making essentially was my fun money. So all my work money went to all these things that I discussed. But I knew I wanted to have fun. You know, I wanted to hang out with my family, friends, take a few little trips here and there. I didn't want to stop my whole life, even though I did stop a lot of it. So all the money I made from that actually went to, like, half of it went to fun and the other half I'd use for all the other things that I mentioned here. And then the last thing was I created a fun money account. So that is exactly what it sounds like. I felt like as I started to making these positive changes, I would spend a little more than I should on fun with friends and family. That stuff adds up real quick. And I was like, you know what? This is slowing me down. I spent a little too much this last month. I could have used that for A, B, and C. And I was just laser focused. I gave myself 2 years. So I ended up opening, actually I didn't. I had already had an account that wasn't touched in another bank. And so I just renamed it. Everything had a purpose. Every dollar had a purpose over that year and a half, because that's how long it took me to do it. And I named it Fun Money. So I would then take the money that I got every check and I would move about $400 to that account. And once that $400 was gone, it was gone. I had to wait another 2 weeks until I could kick it again, you know? And that worked really well for me. It helped me to become diligent and understand where each dollar was going. Do I still do that now? No, but I also have automated my savings since then. So that makes a difference. My money is automatically going to my high-yield savings account. So that was a game changer. And I highly recommend that for those that are truly serious about getting debt-free. So after applying all these things, I ended up paying off my student loan debt, which was at $70,000. In addition to my car note, I still had a little car note left when I had moved back home. So I would say probably about $80,000, including the $10,000 that I owed on that. I gave myself 2 years. I got it done in like 18 months. Like 18 months. I was ready to go at the top of the year, and I thought it was gonna take me until like summer of that year. So I was just thankful, but it took diligence, it took consistency, lots of tears, lots of frustration, lots of not wanting to be in somebody else's house, but it all worked out because I'm now in my space. Well, I've been in my space, but I love it here. Like, I absolutely love it here, and it was worth that. And I felt like all those years that I was away from home, I was able to make up for them. You know, I have a godson, and just being there with him and building our own relationship, like, that matters now, because even though I don't live there, like, I don't know, I just feel like I have a better relationship with my family. Not saying I didn't, but when you're away for so long, you get so used to just doing things on your own. But I'm thankful for those 2 years that allowed me to, number one, become debt-free, you know, consumer-based at least. I mean, I have a mortgage on my house, but also it allowed me to build a relationship with my family as an adult, because I left home, you know, for college, never really went back. So that's my story, y'all. You can do it. You can do it. I did it. It was hard. I'm thankful for my family and my friends that helped me to see the bigger picture. I'm thankful for those small little trips that I can make, you know, to Atlanta, DC, wherever, like, just to unwind and enjoy this journey. I'm thankful for my friends at home that will pull me out. We'll go to wine bars, like, we'll go to festivals, like, all that stuff really helped me. So you got to be cognizant of who you're around and have people that are speaking life into you, you know, who understand your goals and are going to help you get there. So that's my story. I hope that this helps someone. I hope that it encourages someone. You can absolutely do it. It's just going to take a new strategy and a new approach to life. But again, a short-term loss for a long-term gain. So that's it, y'all. Please let me know if you have any questions in the descriptions. description box. Share with a friend who's eager to start their debt-free journey. And let's get this money and let's get these properties, okay? Because the prices are only going up. They are not going down. So I encourage you to move expeditiously.